Hey, how you doing? Justin back with you for Transcribing Riffs Part 3. So I'm hoping at this point you've done Part 1 and Part 2. If you haven't, go and do them first. Like I said in Part 2, it's a gradual process. I'm giving you gradually harder and harder riffs. If you start with these ones, you're likely to really struggle. So please go back and do those other riffs first of all, at least some of them, if not all of them. The riffs now are going to get a little faster, a little bit more complicated. They might require some position shifting around the neck, as well as having to slow the parts down, the riffs down when you're transcribing them. Okay, you want to get used to doing that. If you can learn to transcribe at normal speed all the time, great. But slowing down is definitely something that I don't think it's kind of cheating. Okay, it's okay to do that. It can really help you get a nice, accurate, clear recording, clear image of the sound in your musical imagination. That's what, I still slow stuff down, even if I can do it at full speed. It helps me hear the nuances like hammer-ons and flick-offs and stuff. You shouldn't be worrying about that just yet, but it does give you extra kind of data into your musical imagination about the riff. So don't be afraid of doing the slow down thing. First riff for this session is Beat It by Michael Jackson. I mean, what a riff that is. It's an all-time classic. Doesn't start for 24 seconds, so good idea to skip forward the track there a little bit. You don't need to start right at the beginning there. Incredible playing there from Steve Lukather. It is one of the all-time great guitar riffs, so just get stuck in there and check it out. If you need some hints, there'll be some over on the website, but try not to use them if you can. Second one, another all-time rock classic, maybe a metal classic. It's Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne. Randy Rhoads, I think, on guitar for that one. Yeah, incredible riff. Really good, fun one to work out. It's not difficult. It's very clear on the recording, so you shouldn't have too many troubles with that. Third one, Day Tripper by the Beatles. I mean, these are just classic riffs. Everybody should know how to play all of these, and this is one of those ones where you just should know how to do it. It's a really nice one. You can use it for improvising and creating your own riffs out of as well once you learn the note sequence. So yeah, Day Tripper by the Beatles, all-time classic. Do I Want to Know by the Arctic Monkeys. I already put a Monkeys tune in Part 2 as well, just it's off the same record. This record's just full of great riffs, like I said. So if you haven't had to try this one, Do I Want to Know, really, really cool riff there to work that one out as well. And lastly, a bit of classic rock, we got Led Zeppelin's Heartbreaker. I mean, these are just wonderful riffs to be working out, and the feeling of satisfaction that you get when you're working out riffs on your own without any help, it's mega. It'll inspire the confidence in yourself as a musician, because you're like, yeah, I can hear things and I can figure out how they go on the guitar that on my own. It's a really, really big step. The more confident that you get with this, the more you'll be likely to go hear a song and go, right, I'm going to work that out. Even the harder songs are usually not that difficult to work out. They're often hard to play, but they're not that difficult to work out. There's obvious exceptions. If you're trying to work out, I don't know, Joe Satriani or Eric Johnson or Joe Pass or, those kind of things, then it gets pretty difficult. You end up being a bit of a detective as well, trying to figure out what the fingering might be and where it was played on the neck and all of there's other complexities. But at this stage, working out kind of basic riffs, it doesn't really matter the fingering. I don't think you should be too worried about if you play it in a different part of the neck or anything like that. You just really want to be working the notes out and then writing it down in tab. Writing it down part, I've mentioned a few times, but it's really, really important. Learning to write out your tabs is going to be really helpful for a whole bunch of reasons. When you're transcribing, if you're doing it a bit at a time, it'll help you make sure that you don't repeat a bit accidentally. It's really good for memorization as well when you start to see things written down, especially if you've transcribed it and seen it a few times. The fact that it's written down will give you a kind of mental picture of it. The actual writing of it, I often find, helps me memorize stuff as well. I don't exactly understand how that works, what the psychology of it is, but writing your own riffs down really kind of seems to sink them in a little bit better. Probably when you're transcribing, you do them a bit at a time as well, because you learn a few notes. You'll learn do-do-boo-do, do-do-do-do, oh yeah, do-do-boo-do, dee, boo-do-dee-dee-doo, trying to find that note. Doing that over and over again is reinforcing how the riff goes. So usually the riffs that I transcribe myself, I learn 100 times faster than ones I learn by tab. To be honest, don't really use tabs anymore, but I still remember when I did use tabs, that the ones that I would learn by tab or by any sort of sheet music would always take a lot longer to learn than the ones that I'd learned myself by ear. So I really would encourage you to do as much transcribing as you can. This is the last one of the Riffs series for grade 3. If you're over on the website doing my grade 3 course, at this point you could really go and just work out anything that you like. Okay, there will be more lessons as part of this course with power chords and with open chords and working out variations and stuff like that. But there isn't a point where you can't just go and transcribe stuff that you like, because I'm giving you songs that I've worked out myself that I know are good for your kind of level of playing. But if you're a really big fan of a particular band, and I haven't done lessons on it, just go and try and work it out. That's how I learned to play guitar. I did have a few lessons. I had a couple of songbooks, a Beatles songbook and another couple of things. But nearly all of what I learned was by transcribing, because that's just, I can't remember. I think it was my dad said, like, I asked him to buy me a Rolling Stones book or something. He said, well, look, you've got the record. Just listen to it and work it out. And Dad, my father's not a musician. He's an accountant. But he just kind of thought, well, if you can hear it, then you must be able to figure it out. And I guess it's one of the beautiful things about learning stuff like that as a kid is that I didn't think twice about it. I was just like, oh, okay, that's how you do it then. So I did it. And it was frustrating and it took ages and half of the stuff I got really, really wrong, but it didn't matter. Even getting it wrong didn't matter because I was doing it. And each time I'd get a little bit more and more and more right. And I was doing the songs that I really love. So I was really excited about going, wow, I'm learning this Rolling Stones song that I really want to be able to play. So and that's the benefit of doing stuff that you really like rather than my suggestions, is that your enthusiasm levels are going to be really cooking for it. So, yeah, please have a go. Transcribe as much stuff as you can. Write it down. Remember that the benefit for transcribing is enormous. I'd say 3/4 of guitar players don't get into transcribing to their own detriment. That it's the guys that transcribe. When I used to work as the kind of admissions guy at the Guitar Institute in London, and I could tell when a person came in to play, we'd start usually with a little bit of a jam. The guys that transcribed and the guys that didn't transcribe were like chalk and cheese. You could tell straight away. There's all of this other stuff that you get when you start transcribing. This relationship between your musical imagination and your hand. It's a really big deal. It teaches you so much more than just the notes or just the songs. I really can't emphasize it strongly enough. Of course, I'm a teacher and I'm giving you a course and I'm trying to encourage you to learn things like scales and chord grips and stuff, but if there were only two paths and you had to choose one or the other, and one of them you would never know what you were doing ever, you wouldn't know the names of the chords or the names of the scales or the names of the notes, but you did everything by transcribing and developed your ear, or you couldn't play by ear but you knew all of the notes and all of the scales and all of that sort of stuff. The guy that played by ear would be the guy that you'd want to listen to. That would be the real musician here, not the guy who just knew all of the stuff. The guys that we all really love aren't the guys that know all the stuff. They're the guys that played a lot and played by ear and just learned it organically. Like learning a language. If you want to learn a language, you don't want to go to school and just study French and learn what all of the verbs are and be able to spell all of the words, right? You need to practice it. Much better if you want to learn French would be to go to France, live there for a couple of years and only speak French. You're going to be much more fluent and be able to have a better conversation with a French person than the guy that just studied for the same amount of time and had their nose in books all the time. Yeah, it's a really, really big deal, this transcribing thing. I go on about it a lot. Sometimes people get upset about it, but I don't care. This is the truth. This is the way that people should be learning music. So really, I would encourage you to stick with transcribing as much as you can. If you transcribe with the knowledge, because that little example I gave you of one path or the other, that's not real. You can do both. Right? You can do mostly ear training, learn all that stuff, but then as well, learn the theory, learn the chords, learn the scales. And that stuff helps you with the transcribing too. I mean, if you know the scales, then your fingers already kind of know where those sounds are that you hear in your ears. You can find them on the guitar quicker. So it really helps. They help each other, right? Big time. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I'm just saying, like, if you had to choose one, I would say the transcribing path is going to be the one that leads you to much more musical happiness, which is kind of the point. Hey, hope all of that makes sense. Excuse the little rant and lack of playing again. Hopefully my finger will be repaired soon. It's only a couple of days ago that it's happened. It's still pretty sore. I'm still stuck in a splint, but hopefully I'll start physio on it soon and get back to full playing. Meanwhile, I'm doing loads of slide guitar and playing left-handed and other fun stuff like that. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for plenty more lessons very soon. Bye.